Good afternoon, everybody. This is April Ross broadcasting live from the Beehive, and the Beehive is buzzed into the studio today where I have Mr. Brian McGee here with me today. He is running for State Representative District 38 for the state of Alabama. Good morning to you. Good afternoon to you.
Yes, we made it to afternoon.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And first, you're running for office.
I am.
But first, what we need to know is, who is Brian McGee?
Well, that's really complicated.
Uh-oh.
But no, it is. It is because
It's complicated.
It's complicated because there's so many facets. There's so many parts of every human being. It doesn't matter if it's me, you, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm probably a little bit different than a lot of people see here locally. Mm-hmm. I was born in the Republic of Panama. Okay, my dad was in the military at the time. Mm-hmm. And I've lived in 5 foreign countries and lived in, when my dad was moving around with the military, we lived in, Florida, Wisconsin, Texas, Georgia, I believe. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we moved around a great deal. It's one of the things of being in the military. But at any rate, so that's me as that individual. But I'm also, because of my father having been in the military, I also, of course, joined. And my grandfather had joined, and my father, and now my son has joined. So we've got 4 generations that cover World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and now the issues that are going on in the Gulf. My son is still, in fact, in Japan, although he's now a contractor working for the U.S. Navy over there. And besides that, when I finished up, when I joined the Army, I enlisted as a private. Airborne infantry is what I enlisted. I wanted to save the country. You know, at the time, the issue was communism, and they were very much afraid of what they called the domino theory back then, that this country would fall, and then this one, and this one, and this one. And so I enlisted, and I rose through the ranks from private to captain in 4 years' time. And I would take any school they'd give me because I figured the more you learn, the more likely you are going to survive, and the more likely you're able to keep your men alive. Okay. And so, and I was very happy, very pleased when I was in Vietnam. I was there for between 12 and 13 months, and I didn't lose a single man, which is wonderful.
That is wonderful.
It's wonderful. I
yes,
love that.
It is. Yes, it is.
And so I really, that was a part of my life that taught me a great deal, taught me about service, taught me about putting yourself out there for others. Because as a commander of an infantry unit, you have potentially the lives of other people who have also, and they trust you, and they're putting their lives in your hands. Anyway, and so after finishing that up, what I did then is I went back to school, and I got a degree in education. And I worked for 11 years here in the States. And then what I did is I worked for the Department of Defense schools overseas. So I've been tied to the military forever and ever and ever. And so that's where I had my experiences living overseas. And there it was Bahrain, which is in the Middle East, Panama, Japan, and England. And when we went to retire, my wife and I, we made a big spreadsheet. I'm a person of numbers.
Person of numbers.
Yes, and so what we did is we made a spreadsheet and we put all the things, health care, we put down, about our dog, because we love our dog. We put about the cost of land, we put down taxes, we put down all of these various things. And lo and behold, Valley, Alabama came up.
Valley, Alabama.
Valley, hooah.
All right.
And so,
Chambers County.
Yes. Well, it didn't come up in Chambers County. I'm sorry. What happened was we're in Valley. We're in Valley address, but we're in Lee County. Over by Dukes, for anybody who knows where that is. We live on the backwater there. And it was a very intelligent plan on my part. I'm a grandfather now. I've got 5 grandchildren. And the deal was, you say to yourself, now everybody out there listen to this. If you want to have your grandkids want to come to your house, you got to make sure you have some toys for them to play with.
And some water.
It helps. It helps.
Yes.
Let's go to Grandma and Grandpa's. At any rate, so that's where we chose to live, and so that's a bit about myself. I've been a fighter the entire time. I know I did things when we were in the military differently. The military had a way of doing things, and I didn't always do exactly what they like. For example, they wanted you to have a dog on the leash, and the leash was 3 foot long. Well, I'm a hunter, and my hunting dogs, they're not on a 3 foot leash. You know how many birds I'd get if I kept them on a 3 foot leash?
Oh my gosh.
You know?
Too
and
much.
so I trained the people to allow, if they wanted to allow the dog to run off leash, which puts them out at 10 foot, 12 foot, and it gave our troops a much bigger area of safety. So there's things like that. Also, when I was in Panama, I fought some very serious not corruption charges, but some standardized testing problems down there that they had, in which they were not appropriately preparing students for the standardized tests, and that's a big problem everywhere. I was also asked to speak before the House Subcommittee for Teacher Issues, so I've had a lot of opportunities to grow and to lead and what have you, and so that's kind of my background.
So is this your first time running for office?
Well, it is actually my second. My first time, though, was just to find out about Alabama politics. I ran for the U.S. Senate, the same one that Doug Jones won. And but my only reason for running was to learn about Alabama politics. You know.
So what's your reasoning for running for this seat?
This one is different. I woke up one day and I said to myself, this country is going to heck in a handbasket.
Heck in a handbasket.
Yes. You know, and that in fact, I really, just like when I enlisted a long time ago, you know, I felt a need to serve, and the same thing. Our country, we're tearing it apart. We're all fighting. We're all bickering. We're all Democrats, Republicans. They can never seem to agree on anything. And one of the things that the military taught you is that you're all in the game together when you're in the military. You have a problem. And then you look at all the resources that you have, and then you look at the options, and then you solve it. But you all work together towards the same thing, and that's not what we're doing, right? And we're not doing that. And
as a politician, would you be willing to work with both sides?
Very much so. And in fact, one of the things, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, is that Todd Rauch, he was Debbie's opponent. He had some really good ideas for veterans. And he was talking about creating a veterans task force. And if I'm elected, what I'd really like to do is offer him. He's a strong Republican, but I'd love to, because he really believes this. He really does strongly. I would like to see if I can't get him to lead this task force, if I can pull it off.
If you can pull it off. So. And you said so your reason for jumping into this race was for what?
My reason is because I feel Alabama is at the bottom of almost everything. And the people in Alabama are not less intelligent than other people. We are just as smart as other people. We have great resources here in Alabama. We've got the sunshine, which is a fantastic resource that we don't use. We can do better. We've got bad leadership is what we've got. And it's not leadership that is just Republican, it's Republican and Democrat. They have both not served this nation, or not served this state well. They have not served well the people of Alabama. And we need to change. If you want to stop, if you want to make a difference, you can't always do everything the same way, which is one of my reasons, or one of my things about my opponent, as an example, is that she says that she was born and raised here, and she knows, and that's great. I am not opposed to that. I was not born and raised in one place, but I've got experiences from one end of this country to the other end, and from one side of the world to another side of the world. I've got a lot of experiences. So it's not just based. When I go to Montgomery, what I bring to the table is not just what I learned here in Alabama, and I am learning things here in Alabama, but it's not just what I've learned here, but it's what I've learned throughout the entire world.
What you've learned throughout the entire world. Now, what are some of the issues that are most important to you?
Well, one of the things which I think, and this is a good example of what is wrong with politics today, and that is the Medicaid expansion. We intentionally, and this was done strictly for political reasons, infighting between the Republicans and the Democrats. The one side, the other side, neither one of them willing to give an inch on many things. Okay? And so we did not take the Medicaid expansion here. And one of the reasons they didn't want to take it was because they hoped to defeat it. But they didn't defeat it, okay, up in Washington. And so now it's here. 34 states have taken the Medicaid expansion. And of those 34 states that took it, they all got billions of dollars to help their hospitals, the health care. And we chose not to do it. So we lost billions of dollars.
Lost billions.
And for example, there is about 21 billion today sitting up there in Washington, which if Governor Ivey would sign this one, all she got to do is take a pen, pick it up, and sign this document, and we would begin getting billions of dollars into this state, but she won't do it. And so instead, what's happening is we're hurting the entire system. We're hurting everyone in Alabama. If I can, I'd like to show this little graphic here. I don't know if this will show up on.
Oh, there it
see if it will or not. I don't know if you can see it, but in Alabama, you'll see a lot of little red dots.
Right.
And those are all rural hospitals that have closed. Now, if you look on other parts of the map that are not shaded the same way, not the gray, you'll see green dots. And those are rural hospitals that have closed in places that took the Medicaid expansion. Well, you'll notice that there's a lot more here
in Alabama,
and in those states that did not take it than those states that took it.
So you are planning on making a change with that?
Oh, I'm going to be, even if we can't get, well, first of all, if Walt Maddox actually gets elected, he has stated that on day one he will sign into law the Medicaid expansion. And so we will get it that way automatically. But if he is not, and I certainly hope he is going to be, and I trust he will be, but if he's not, you're going to hear me all the time talking about this because it is so hurtful to this state and to these people. For example, the Alabama Hospital Association is right now, they've got a campaign out trying to explain to the public and to legislators and potential legislators why we need to take it. And instead, what I've seen a thing about the red wave, and on that folder, there's one of them that says repeal this whole document. Well, first of all, they can't repeal it. Okay, it hasn't been repealed. They tried trying time and time again, but that means they don't want to take it. Okay, so they're not going to take this thing unless we force them to take it. And 21 billion, I don't care how you cut it. $21 billion into this economy is a huge amount of money. They expect that there will be 30,000 jobs at a minimum brought into this economy. Now, anybody want more jobs? That's how you can get them, just like that. KIV could bring in 30,000 jobs, just like that. Okay? The amount of money, the resources, and on top of that, we would be putting 300,000 of our poorest on health care. Now, why is this bad? Why is this something we shouldn't be doing for our people? These are Alabamians. The Kaiser Foundation did a study, and they have shown a way to figure out that between 200 and 500 Alabama citizens are dying every year because we haven't taken this Medicaid expansion. That's criminal. If you told a politician, you're going to take this vote today, and from now until the day you die, 200 to 500 people every year are going to die because of the vote you took. They should be shot if that's the case. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. And yet we've continually allowed them to do stuff like this, and it's got to change. It just has to change.
So, and what do you plan on doing?
About this?
Yes.
If in fact we don't get a governor in there willing to sign the bill, I will continually be a voice for it. I am attempting to start a channel. Okay, a YouTube channel. It's called Elect McGee.
Elect McGee.
Okay. And no, I fibbed. I wanted Elect McGee. Forget that. I wanted Elect McGee, but I couldn't get it. So it's Brian J. McGee. I don't know.
Brian J. McGee.
It came from Google. It came from Google.
Okay, gotcha.
The Google name had to be that. Anyway, so at any rate, and so what I want to do. Yeah, it's on YouTube right now. And so what I want to do is continually highlight these issues for the public. I mean, that's, even if I don't get elected, I'm still planning on using that venue to try and highlight this for the people.
And let's talk about education lottery. That is huge.
It is huge here, especially on this side of Alabama.
Right.
Now, I've been an educator for 37 years. If you want somebody that knows education, I know education. Okay, I've got 3 degrees. All right. So I am strongly in favor of improving our education, and it starts at the beginning. Okay, and it starts down there with pre-K. And pre-K, and we get the bottom of the barrel in everything, but pre-K was the one program we are #1 in the United States in.
Okay.
But the only problem is they don't have enough money to fund it.
So do you think there should be a lottery?
And so, why not use the lottery for that?
Okay.
Why not use the lottery to help? Because if you start a child out right, and they learn how to read and how to write, and you learn that early on, he's going to go all the way. If in fact you don't, if the child does not learn to read and write early on, they don't have a good basis, they're going to be behind in 1st grade, they're going to be behind farther in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and pretty soon they give up.
Giving it a good foundation.
You've got to have that foundation. If you don't have the foundation, you've got to.
And so a lottery would help.
It would help. It's not the only solution. You've got to still. Our teachers, until they got this recent pay raise, they hadn't had a pay raise in 10 years or something? Wow. That was a long time. You do not keep good, qualified. Every one of those teachers is a professional. They all have degrees. You don't keep people like that if you don't pay them a competitive salary. You've got to pay them a competitive salary in order to get qualified teachers. Otherwise, the people that are there are those that are so dedicated, they just won't leave the school or the kids. But people that are want to and see a better future for their own families will move elsewhere. It's what's going to happen. So you have to. Now, when you take the education lottery, one of the things you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful. Even if they do it, and I think there's going to be the fact that you're going to be able to get the education lottery through. If, in fact, you take it, you've got to be sure that they don't say, oh, you got the education lottery. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this other money that is already going to education, and so we pull that off and use it for other sources or other things, and so they're really reducing. And now we got and they'll sit there and say all the time, we're using the education lottery for education. Yeah, but you took other money away. And so you have to be very careful about how you do it. You just can't say education lottery and put your stamp on it. You got to be sure that you fence in all those other funds so that they don't rip the education system off.
And making sure that education, that it starts with the basis with the pre-K program.
Right.
And so we talked about the teacher pay and retirement. We didn't touch on the retirement.
No, we didn't. What I was actually saying about that is one of the things that this is consistently a problem, and not just in Alabama, it's consistently everywhere. It happens up in Washington. They see a pile of money someplace. Politicians do. And they say, oh, well, I don't want to raise taxes. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. So therefore, we'll dip into this other pile of money. They're doing that with Social Security. They dip into it and borrow from Social Security. Okay? And so what? Does that improve the solvency of the Social Security system? No. And so the same thing happens with this. They see that money that's been aside for the retirement system, and they'd love to borrow it from it. Sure they would. And you have to protect that because teachers and other state workers, they have put this money aside for themselves for their retirement. And they're expecting it when it comes time, and they deserve it. They've earned it.
Are you saying that it's being threatened right now?
I believe it is. That's
what
I and I haven't seen a bill out there, but that's from what I've heard from talking with other people that are on the legislature, that they'd really like to get their fingers into it.
They want to get their fingers on teachers' retirement.
Well, not just teachers, it's the entire RSA.
Okay. Okay. So we should be concerned about that.
We need to be.
Okay. And we're going to talk about jobs is one thing that you have here that we're going to talk about. What is important, what you will be willing to do to increase jobs?
Well, and this is it. There's two things. Okay. One is the Medicaid expansion, which automatically brings in jobs. I mean, because if you put this much money, $21 billion, into one state, you're going to have jobs. I mean, somebody's got to do the work.
Somebody's got to do the work.
And so you're going to have jobs. And the jobs are not just in the medical field. if somebody comes and they're working in a hospital in, let's say, Roanoke or whatever, they're working there, guess what? They need a home, don't they?
Right.
And they need a car, and they need food, and they need clothes, and they need all these things. And so it's not just medical that's going to improve, it's everything. And when you go the other way, if you lose the hospital, what happens?
People start moving
they
out.
move out. And will businesses go in there? No.
No.
I mean, a business is not going to intentionally go into a part of the state that does not have a hospital. They're not going to do it. And so you've got to save those rural hospitals, or you have small ghost towns is what you have. And that's not good for anybody.
For any state.
No.
No, it's not. Environmental protection.
Well, Alabama has got one of the most beautiful sets of resources here in the South. I mean, we really have some great parks. We have a lot of resources here, a lot that we have to offer. But what's happened is there are places in Alabama where there's open sewers. I mean, it's a third world country type open sewers, you know.
What are those cities?
Oh, I can't. I wish I don't have them in my brain.
Oh,
I need
okay.
them, but there are. Okay, look up.
I'm just curious.
Okay, no,
Open
it's not right here. Not right
okay,
here.
okay.
But it's
That's
it's,
terrifying.
They have,
though.
no, I know. But look it up. Look it up
Okay.
as open sewers, Alabama. In which it's not like the sewer just opened.
I know what you're saying.
It's the septic tanks have failed,
Right.
and nobody's fixed the problems. You know, that's what the problem is, and that's just one example. There's also, you know, that there was this huge problem up in Birmingham with the Superfund site.
Okay.
You know, and what happens is money and greed and corruption get in there and try to thwart cleaning up this. There's another spot up in, and I don't know, it's a 3M. It's been polluting water in northern Alabama. And in Minnesota, they took 3M to court and won, but here in Alabama, they won't take them to court for the exact same pollution. Look up pollution,
Okay.
3M,
3M.
okay, and in northern Alabama.
Do your research.
Yeah. So and we've got to do it. And the other thing that we're not doing, we are not using the resources we have.
So what do you plan to do about
What
that?
I'd love to do, about what? About the pollution?
Yeah.
Well, again, if you can't convince other people, you know, and let's be really honest, right this moment, Republicans have a supermajority.
Okay.
Okay. That means they do not have to talk to a single Democrat, and I'm a Democrat. Okay.
Right.
They don't have to talk to me unless we break the supermajority. So if we don't break the supermajority, there's very little I can do except scream and shout and use my YouTube to try and force them and share with the public.
Is that
That's
what you're
right,
saying?
and share with the public the fact that we need to do something. We need to hold these people accountable, and that will be the only thing. Now, if we do break the supermajority, I will have the ability, okay, with other Democrats, like-minded individuals, to try and push some of these issues. And will I push them? Yeah, because I really do believe this is one planet we've got. And what's our spaceship is? It's the only one we got.
That's all we got.
And so we've got to protect it, you know. Then one of the things that's going on, for example, we talk about jobs.
Right.
Well, you know, one of the things that has always put our country to 100% employment with good jobs is wars. Wars have always worked. But I say what we need to do is declare a war against environmental pollution.
Okay.
You know, and against...
And what will that create?
What does is it creates thousands and thousands of jobs. Because if you try to solve some of these problems, like we're using a lot of coal still, okay, to produce electricity. If we started moving more towards solar, okay, you will end up reducing the pollution, but at the same time, you put so many people to work as we transfer from one form, which is a fossil fuel type system, we going into more of a solar and a green technology system. There's thousands of jobs that get created. So
Through that one source.
Yes, and here in Alabama, we need to do that. And I'm really hopeful. There was a good forum I went to at Auburn University the other day. And what it was talking about was the way cities, individual small cities, impact their environment through the fact that all the lights, like the lights that you have here,